Everybody, hope you're doing well. What we're going to be going over in this video is just a short little Telnet and cURL overview. Now, part of your homework for this week is to use Telnet and cURL to get some information from a couple of different web servers. What I've got you looking at is Google and the CIS page from GVSU. Now, we haven't talked a whole lot about these commands. We've been mainly focusing on the dev tools in the browser because you can get all of this information there as well. And it's a little bit easier to kind of parse out and understand in a nice format that you get through something like Chrome or Edge or Firefox in their development tools. But if you are somebody who is comfortable with the terminal and maybe you don't want to open up a browser, maybe you're trying to formulate some kind of an interaction with a server that is purely, say, JSON based. So if you've ever used something like Postman or similar, you probably are going to be comfortable here. But what we're going to be looking at the outset here is just how we interact with HTTP. Now, a couple of caveats. I have in the write-up for the homework my personal opinions on Telnet. That stems from my time as a system administrator. Telnet is horribly insecure. It's not encrypted. I don't like it, but it is a nice, handy little tool which can give us some very quick information about a web server. Now, with that, there is also cURL, which does something kind of similar to me. It's a little bit more powerful. Also can be encrypted, which is a bit nicer. And again, I tend to like it more. So one of the issues that you're going to find is that Telnet is not going to just be there for you on your computer. Curl may or may not be depending on your setup. If you're running Windows, you will probably have to download Telnet and use it in some fashion. I will leave that to you to basically figure out how to install that on your computers. If you are using a Linux-based system, for instance, a Ubuntu, or if you're using a Mac, you're going to have Telnet built in, and depending on your distribution, you may or may not have curl. Again, I'll leave that to you to install. But what I'm going to be showing you here is my setup. This is particular to me. You would have to go out and install this if you like this environment. Now, what I've got here is the Windows terminal. This is a newer thing from Microsoft where it's basically a one-stop shop for all of your command line environments. You can run PowerShell in here. You can run the standard, DOS emulator. You can also bring in Linux as well. So one thing that I've been doing for some time is I've been running Ubuntu on Windows, which if you are interested in this and you don't know how to do it, there are a lot of great guides out there. But basically you have to enable the Windows subsystem for Linux in your Windows features, download Ubuntu or whatever your favorite Linux distribution is off the App Store, and then you have Linux on a Windows computer, which for me is perfect. But again, that's me, not necessarily you. All I'm trying to get at is this environment here. This is a Linux terminal for me. So this is not PowerShell. This is not DOS. This is Ubuntu. Right? You can see the little penguin here. I could, oops, wrong button. If I hit this one, I could run Azure Cloud Shell. I could run PowerShell. I could run the command prompt, and it would all reflect whatever that environment is. Why am I spending so much time talking about this? Ubuntu and Windows comes with Telnet, it comes with curl, and it's, again, nice and easy. If you don't want to go the process of installing everything on your own computers, feel free to go to the EOS server that we have, so basically that ArchLab connection, and you can run these commands from there. So basically log into the Arch servers, then run your Telnet and curl commands, and it should work just fine without you needing to log in. And if you have issues with that, please feel free to let me know. I can point you in the right direction. I assume, hopefully, that you know how to access those being GVSU students. But if not, you can get there from our CIS homepage. Anyway, so a couple of points here. Again, I'm going to run telnet. I'm going to run curl. These commands exist for me in Ubuntu. If I were to say go over to PowerShell, telnet doesn't exist. We're going to go over to command prompt, telnet does not exist. Again, if you want to use the standard Windows environments, you're going to have to download it. Okay. cURL does exist though. And the reason why I'm going to show you this in Linux is that you get different behaviors if you use the command prompt or PowerShell or Linux. The DOS and Linux versions are much closer to each other in how they behave. The PowerShell one is this, they turned it into basically a commandlet with different parameters and whatnot. Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze. But for instance, curl works on here. Curl works in DOS. Curl, curl, curl. Okay. And I'm going to leave off the DOS one for now. I'll leave the PowerShell one up just so that we can talk to it when we get to it. But what do these commands do and what are they providing for us? Our homework that we have, and we swing this over here. Yep. Neat. I don't know if that came through or not. I had a video just start auto-playing on my other monitor. That was kind of neat. Anyway, part of your homework is to telnet into the GVSU server, telnet into Google. It's slightly down here. And tell me what you're seeing, okay? Only reason I'm making a video on this is the syntax is a little bit wonky, and I kind of wanted to talk you through some things. So let me go ahead and make this. Okay, there we go. So, first things first, what is telnet? It is a command line way of talking to a server and getting information. If I were to say, run, let me clear this out for us, telnet, let's skip down to the Google one first. www.google.com and then port 80. We're saying run telnet, talk to Google, run this on port 80. Again, if you don't remember or if you need a refresher, port 80 is the standard HTTP port. Not secured, not encrypted, standard web traffic. So we see that we connect. It actually points to that IP address. If you, I can't remember where we are at exactly, if we've talked about domain name resolution yet or not. Basically, there's a domain register out there somewhere that knows google.com is associated with this IP address. Okay, but we see that we are connected. All right, and we get some information about how to escape out of things. Now, the next thing that we have to do are these two lines. So we want to get basically the root of the web server on the HTTP 1.1 protocol. And we're going to say the host is google.com. All right, so I just want to kind of run you through one of these to show you the syntax, because you don't really see anything here. It might be confusing if you've never done it before. So telnet, www, I did this already, sorry. Escape, escape, escape. Get space slash space HTTP slash 1.1. Okay, again, we're doing a get command to the root on this protocol. Hit enter. Then we have to type in the host, www.google.com. All right, and then I'm going to hit enter twice. Once, twice. Then we get all of the information from google.com. What we're seeing here is basically what you see in the developer tools. It's just not formatted very nicely. So here is effectively the entire HTML output for when you visit google.com. And it looks all messy like this because it's minified, meaning everything's scrunched together, so it's hard to read. All right, at one point in time, that was for speed optimization, so the browsers would have to download less white space, but now it's just to kind of obfuscate things. All right, so here's all their code. You want to replicate google.com? There you go. But what we're looking for is at the very top, so I'm scrolling up, and here's our headers. So we got a response 200 and that it's okay. We see the date, we see when it expires, here's our content type. Again, all these things that we've been talking about with respect to HTTP are here. Okay, easy enough. I'll leave the GVSU one to you because we get some different behaviors and I find it kind of interesting for you to parse out. So that is telnet. Now I'm going to hit Control-C and close out of there. Clear this out. Okay. Let's open up PowerShell now. Weird little jump there because I had to cut some stuff out. Let's go to PowerShell. So if I wanted to, well, it's not going to work because I don't have telnet installed. Yeah, okay. We'll save PowerShell for curl. Basically, the point is that is how we go ahead and talk to a server through telnet. Now we could format, add some formatting in here. So telnet dash dash man telnet. We're in Linux, not Windows. We have some flags that we could send in. So we could force IP4 or IP6. We could basically specify a lot of different things. We could send a user. We could talk to specific hosts, specific ports, things that we're not going to get into here, but basically Telnet is a little bit um, parameterized, if you want. We're just using it in its most basic form. Okay, that was Telnet. Easy enough for what we need to do here. Now, the next thing we're going to do is curl. Curl is a command which is way more powerful than Telnet, in my opinion. Not only can you get the page and the headers, you can also send login information. You can kind of mock up a form interaction. So if I wanted to test a web form, send a username and a password and click the submit button, I could do that through curl. So I could basically send a command to a web page to autofill out a form. Great for doing scripting or testing or things like that. Basically, curl is way, way, way more powerful. And if we look at the curl page in the help manual, we see a whole lot of different options for us. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to use it to parse out a web page. So again, we're going to look at Google. I'll leave the GVSU page for you. But if I just run curl by itself on google.com, I'm going to get the exact same thing we see with Telnet. All right, so here's all the page content. Difference is we don't get the headers. Curl is just going to pull something down. Guess that's one of the other things you can do with curl too, is you can bulk download files. So if you have a directory full of PDFs, you could run a little curl command to download every single PDF from a web directory, as long as it's not secured or you're not logged in. Okay, so, but basic curl pulls down content, curl-I pulls down the headers. A little bit better to read, a little nicer formatted. Again, we see the exact same information here. HTTP version, response code, human readable code, other information from our headers, everything's there for us. And if we go over to PowerShell here, okay, again, so this was Linux, this is PowerShell. If I do curl, google.com, it's formatted slightly differently. All right, so if I would do curl-I and then www.google.com, it will not work. Actually, let me show you. -I. Basically, it's a commandlet. It's completely different from the normal curl. This is something built for Windows. If I were to just do curl, www.google.com, we'll get everything from the page, basically in kind of a nice little header form, and then you actually see that it's abstracted out. So you see a lot of these little dots where it parses and it like makes it human readable. You have to supply extra parameters to make it fully readable. I'm not a big fan of PowerShell's version of this. I'm going to ignore it. If we were to go into the command prompt, actually, let's use the terminal here. Let's open up a command prompt in this. curl www.google.com. Hey, looks like a web page. curl-I www.google.com. Hey, it's the headers. Curl is correct in DOS, weird in PowerShell. And when I say weird, it's just different. It's not my thing. Anyway, demo done. Have fun with curl and telnet. Use it for whatever you would like, but at the bare minimum, understand these are command line tools to help you understand what your web server is doing in terms of HTTP traffic. Bye.